This is Sizzle, powered by Fit to be Trained, coming to you from the Deep End Broadcasting Network studios in the lovely Virginia Beach, Virginia, here in the United States of America. Do you want to be part of the 30-day or 60-day transformation? Then contact Karen, aka Sizzle, on any of her social media platforms at Fit to be Trained. Here's your host of Sizzle, Karen Dougherty.
Your voice is nice and mellow on a Friday afternoon. That's cool. End of the week, winding down.
That's my deep radio voice.
But it's nice and calm. Oh, look, there's my timer. I must have set it for 45 seconds instead of 45 minutes. God. I'm winding down too. Did you have a good week?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good. Me too. I did. I got to the gym this week. I mean, I exercise every day, but I like to go to the gym for social reasons. And then I get a different workout. I don't know what's coming because the coach kind of throws it at you. And I got to the gym once. So that's better than, this winter, summer stuff that we don't know what's going on. So if you out there listening are, affected by the time change, because that happens with the spring ahead, that used to really get me bad. And the only reason why it didn't this year is because I have to get up in the middle of the night to take care of my son, but that's temporary. And I'm used to these weird sleep sessions, so I'm good. But usually it really beats me up. Even when I was young, it would. So if you're experiencing that, you're not the Lone Ranger. I had clients that struggled with it because I do 5 and 6 a.m. appointments. What does that make that? A 4 and a 5 a.m. appointment, because of the time change, it makes it tougher.
Yeah.
So a lot of people really struggled this week. I didn't have any cancellations on my early mornings. I even gave them an out. I even texted them and I was like, if you need to skip this week, you can, no problem, because years past this week I would really struggle. So I really try to be compassionate, to like how I've felt in the past. So I wouldn't be like, oh no, I'm charging you.
Right.
No way. So, but nobody took it. Nobody took the out. They all came. So had a full good week. And I wanted to talk today about why we compare ourselves. And it's kind of a cool timing because we're in the CrossFit Open. And we're on the third workout. There's 4 workouts in the CrossFit Open. So we're on the third week, and I'll read out the workout later. But that's in a situation where comparing yourself can sometimes be a motivator and can be fun, because you get to see your score compared to everybody else that signed up for the Open all over the world for your age group. So it's really fun if you can use it for a good way. If it's going to take you into a negative space, then you shouldn't do stuff like that. Like I've had clients that don't even weigh themselves. The numbers on the scale messes with their head, where other clients weigh themselves every day because it's a motivator. So I need people to know that make sure if you're doing something that it's definitely a motivator and not something that's making it negative. And if it is negative, you need to get rid of it fast. So, why we compare ourselves and how to stop. So the core idea of this whole podcast is comparison is one of the biggest momentum killers in gyms, in aging, because think of the aging thing, how women are, especially women. I don't know how guys are. Maybe it's the same with you guys too. We're always trying to look younger, in weight loss and in everything. So comparison, it's walking a fine line. It's like perfectionism. It's like procrastination. It tends to be a little bit dangerous. So why comparison is a brain default? It's not a personal flaw. And the brain is wired to scan for social cues to figure out where we fit in the group. And I thought this was interesting because it goes back to primal. Am I keeping up with the tribe? Like when we were cavemen, I'd assume it was a little bit competitive. It's like literally a dog eat dog world. Eat or be eaten. I think of the dinosaurs.
Mhm.
So you were comparing yourselves to others in your tribe to see if you were keeping up or if you were dead weight. We compare automatically when we're unsure, stressed, or lacking confidence. So I'm of a certain age. Everybody knows that. I'm 60 this year, and I have clients of all different ages. And I was talking about this subject with a client who's in her 30s. And she said that that's what keeps her off social media. That's why she's not real into social media. Some people are, and some people aren't. And I know for a fact I see her on my stuff, but she must not be like much of a scroller because she said she gets too caught up into the comparison thing. So I think that's really common with the younger people on social media. My age group is more about aging. I've noticed that. Like all the ladies in their 50s are trying to hang on to that youthful glow. So they're comparing themselves to girls in Hollywood or girls that have estheticians daily, or they're comparing themselves to photographs that aren't even real. So,
Oh yeah, I can see how that's a
yeah, social media
nightmare.
really amplifies, and now they have all those filters. I purposely do not filter any of my stuff online. I don't feel like I have to. I try and show up really authentic once a week where I'm literally like this. Like you see me like right now I have no makeup on because I got to shower before I got here. And podcasts usually they don't even really see us. I mean, they can see us on YouTube, but that's their choice. And um this is how I really look. I usually have a hat on. I don't wear a lot of makeup in the real world. But if you go on my social media, you're going to see some of the photos. I look like a supermodel because I have false eyelashes on, a professional makeup job, a spray tan, and a professional photographer. That can make anybody look like really good. So a lot of it's BS. Athletes, you think of athletes, they compare themselves and how an athlete would compare themselves negatively, especially in my age group, if they're comparing themselves to numbers even 4 or 5 years ago, because we're going to change. Our body changes, our composition changes. So comparison spikes when you're in a transition, apparently. Like all this stuff I just did research on. So this isn't coming out of my brain. I get, me and Chat GPT are like best friends. I hear their Chat is best friends with everybody though now. So I can't feel special. But I used to feel really loved by my robot. Comparison spikes when you're in transition. Like if you go to a new gym, if it's a new season, I thought that was interesting. Like spring's coming. So everybody's like, oh, this is like I said last week. This is when I advertise. I haven't yet, but it's coming, people. If you want to unfollow my social media for a hot minute, no, I'm kidding. Don't ever unfollow me. I want you to follow me. Tell your friends. But when you start comparing with new goals and new body changes. So next week, I usually don't tell when I'm going to have guests just in case I jinx it. But next week, I'm having a gal on that has been on the weight loss, the GLP, Ozempic. She's not on Ozempic. She's on a different one of the weight loss drugs, and she is on it for weight loss. And she's going to come on and talk to us about her journey and how it's been positive. Tell us about the side effects. Negative, there's some negative things. There always is. And be authentic and let us know what's going on. And because that's really the new thing right now in fitness, wellness, whatever you want to call it. That's happening in all areas, whether even athletes are using that. And I'm not saying that I'm for it or against it. I need to be clear about that. Well, maybe I should say I actually am for it when it's appropriate. Definitely. I don't think it should be used if you don't really need it. I think that because anytime you're going to use a medication, there is going to be a negative side effect. So if you don't really need it and you're using it for perfection reasons, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, that's a dangerous but that's just an opinion, that's anybody can do. We're free to do what we want, and that's, but I'm definitely not against it for people that need it for medical reasons and are trying to lose a significant amount of weight. So the reason why it's such good timing is comparison. We'll have to ask her next week, is she feeling like she needs to compare herself to others or anything like that? Because it says when you go through body changes, you tend to compare a little more. And it's a way of trying to measure progress when we don't trust our own metrics yet. So I can't say that I don't compare myself, but I would say anymore. I would say that I've been caught up in that game before, but I've kind of got that one under control. But it is good to measure progress, which would be cool about the open. I wish I could do those workouts so I could see if, how I leveled out with other athletes, even with the modifications. But some of the workouts, I just can't attend schedule wise either. Or really, I don't even, some of them with mods, I can't even do. So maybe that ship has sailed for me. But let me get into why comparison can hurt us, because it can do us good too. I don't want to be all poo-poo on this. It pulls attention away from your lane and into someone else's. So if you're starting to compare yourself, say you're going online and you're following this person, you're not minding your own business, I guess. Would be, like anytime.
No, you're all up in their business.
Right. Anytime we're gossiping, we're in somebody else's
Right.
business and we're taken away from ourselves. So I would assume it's the same thing with the comparison game. If you're comparing yourself, you're in his or her business and not in your own. You're wasting time. It creates unrealistic expectations because you're comparing your real life to someone else's edited moment. And that really goes to the social media stuff, where everybody's always on social media showing their best moments. And even though I go online authentically and maybe don't get all dolled up and all that anymore, I am trying to look nicer. Like I would fix my hat. I would maybe put some mascara on. I'd like to think my posture is always good, but I'm really going to have really good form, obviously, because that's usually what I'm teaching. So yeah, we're always on our best behavior when the camera's on. It fuels procrastination, which I didn't really realize. Why try if I'll never be like them? That's legit. I think I've said that. I'm never going to be like that. So forget it. It feeds perfectionism. If I can't be the best, then I won't even start. That's very legitimate. It disconnects you from your own progress and identity. So that's a little big for me today. It disconnects you from your own progress and identity. And I think that goes back to the old, you're minding somebody else's business. Just stay in your lane. That makes more sense to me. That's more my language. And it kills momentum because it replaces curiosity with judgment. And I think anytime we're in judgment, whether it be for others or ourselves, we're in trouble. So I think when you start getting into a negative mindset, you you can pull yourself out when you start realizing, wait a minute, I'm judging somebody else. Because I think actually we have the capacity to know to control our thoughts and control our emotions. I know that's true. That's in therapy. That's in the Trident mindset work, whenever you're talking to Navy SEALs or stuff like that. Like everything is mindset and control. So I think when we start going down a road of negativity, our body knows it, and you have the choice to pull out. I think that's true. So I think if you're in a space where you're like starting to get blue or you're starting to compare, check yourself. Like, what am I doing? I'll tell you an example of this. I was watching Landman last week because I joked. I was like, I need to grow some kahunas. I need to be tough right now. So sometimes I like to watch shows that are like have a really tough leading actor or actress because I kind of take on that in the regular world. It gets me through. And it's super entertaining, by the way. That show is so freaking good. But anyway, he smoked cigarettes day in and day out. And I was like, man, that makes me want a cigarette so bad, so bad, so bad. And I was really having a tough day. And I was just like, God, what would it hurt? And I was walking the dog earlier and I saw one of my neighbors who smokes. And we spoke. And I was coming home. I was driving down the road and I was like, man, I'm going to go ask her for a cigarette. What's one going to hurt? Just get it out of my system. It'll taste so good. It's going to be so wonderful. I can't wait. So I'm driving down Shore Drive. I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. I got a plan. And then I checked myself because I really do. Like I said earlier, I think we have of something. It's whether you listen to that other voice or not. And I said to myself, wait a minute, you're really hungry because when you're in recovery for alcoholism or they tell us halt. So hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. So whenever you have a craving for alcohol or drugs or whatever your nemesis is, check yourself and make sure you're not hungry. If you're angry, I was angry. That's why I wanted the cigarette. Lonely or tired. So now I'm getting to the firehouse. I'm getting pretty close to home, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I am really hungry. I am angry. That's how I got in this situation. I'm not lonely and I'm probably tired. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go home. I pulled in my driveway. I didn't go to my neighbor's house. I pulled in my driveway. I went in, I ate. And to be honest with you, I totally forgot about it. I really was hungry. I never thought about the cigarette again until now. But that's what I'm saying. Like we do even anytime usually there's a little spot in there where you can turn left or you can turn right. So try to turn the right direction when that happens. But how can this stuff help you? So there's comparison that can sometimes be good for you, right? So it can show you what's possible for someone your age, stage, or background. So that goes back to the CrossFit Open. You get to compare yourself. I'm going to try and remember to do it tonight because I want to check on our friends who are masters athletes who are going to be high up on the leaderboard. I think that's so cool that I even know somebody like that, but I'm not sad that I'm not them because I don't want to do the work. That and some of these gals that are getting really high numbers in these are just, their DNA. They're born that way. They're strong. I think some humans are stronger than others. You can't train into some things. And there's a lot of people that would disagree with me. And like I said, that's just my opinion. But it can also help inspire you when you use it as information, not judgment. So as soon as you get into judgment, whether it's for yourself or somebody else, let me just check. What am I doing? It can help you identify gaps in skills or habits that you want to build. So if you're checking on, I think of bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is like sculpting your body. So you might go, my triceps look really good, but I really need to work on my biceps. And maybe have someone that you're comparing to that you think looks really symmetrical. That's just my brain, but you can use it in a positive for any sport, I would assume, but that's where I go, which reminds me, I have a bodybuilder hopefully coming in April. And we can talk about that kind of stuff because it is cool. That's really what they are. They're sculpting themselves to try to make themselves as symmetrical as possible. And they might look at other girls for inspiration or guys or whatever. It can connect you to community. So again, why is comparison sometimes healthy? It can connect you to community. So like CrossFit, the open brings everyone together. We go in heats. It's a big group. And then it even brings us together in the United States and now the world. Think of Marsha. She's from Amsterdam. If they can do it, maybe I can too. Absolutely. It can help you calibrate your training or expectations in a realistic way. So you could even go in both directions. Like, wow, she's really muscular and big. Of course, she's going to be able to push more weight than me or pull more weight or whatever. It gives you a realism of what you're going to be capable of. And again, I take this to sports because that's how I think, but you could use this in any kind of scenario. It can highlight strengths you didn't realize you had. Okay, why comparison can sometimes be healthy. It can highlight strengths you didn't realize you had. So yeah, maybe you're like, yeah, I've never would have thought about that. Thank you, chat. Because yeah, you'll look at your stats and be like, oh, wow, I'm really good there. I'm weak there. And I think coaches probably use that. Like when you're coaching in rugby, you're definitely comparing players in a healthy, sometimes you're in judgment, but you're probably trying so you can coach your players to be better or, compare, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can motivate you when you frame it as admiration, not self-attack. I think that's when the fun comes in because I admire a lot of people online and most of my guests that have, if not all of them, have been someone that I've admired and some of them were strangers, right? So we think of Nicole. She was a stranger that I stalked. Marsha was a stranger. Tammy. All of them that I followed. And I say stalk. I shouldn't do that. You can't use words like throw words around frivolously anymore. But girls that I really admired, and it people love to hear compliments when you're authentic. They like to hear that they did a good job when it's authentic. So it does create a community for sure as well. So I asked for some like fun facts. I always do fun facts and statistics about comparison. And it talks about how your brain is wired to compare. I mean, it is. And that goes back to that primal, neuroscientists have found that brain has a built-in social comparison network that activates automatically when we see other people. So that kind of takes the pressure off. Just make sure you're staying in judgment and using it as a positive tool. You don't choose to compare. Your brain does it before you even realize it. That's pretty interesting. We compare ourselves every 2 to 3 minutes. That's kind of alarming. Behavioral studies show that people make upward or downward comparisons constantly, often without awareness. Obviously, I can't imagine doing something every 2 or 3 minutes other than check my phone or something. It's one of the most frequent mental habits humans have. Social media increases comparison by 300%, not 100%, 300%. Research shows that scrolling increases comparison dramatically because you're seeing curated, here we go, we talked about this earlier, curated, filtered, highlight real moments. Real being REEL. Yeah, a lot of it is BS. And I can tell you, I like my page personally. I mean, obviously, it's my page. And I try to mix it up. So where I do have some of those professional photos in there with me doing a video. So people keep it real. If you see me in the Target, you're gonna know it's me. If I just had my professional photographs in there, you wouldn't even know me. I'd walk right past you and you wouldn't know, oh, that's Karen Dougherty. The brain interprets these as real. So those REELS, those reels, get interpreted by your brain as real. REAL. It's like that. It doesn't know at first. So even when you logically know that that's not the case. So remember that. Remember all this stuff when you start doing it. And apparently we do it every 2 to 3 minutes. Studies in, I'm sorry, I got ahead. Upward comparison can boost performance. So that's pretty cool. Here's a healthy one. Studies in sports psychology show that comparing yourself to someone slightly better than you increases motivation and effort if you frame it as an inspiration instead of an inadequacy. And I am guilty of that my whole CrossFit career. And I thought I was going to CrossFit for 14 years. I thought it was that long. Maybe I'm a little less. Maybe it's 13 years. But anyway, because I was still my sober date, like I've literally forgotten how many years I'm sober. Maybe I thought I was 15 years sober, but maybe I'm not.
Maybe it's longer. See, there you go.
I know, it's really cool how you do forget. But I know it's September 8th. I know that 2011. So yeah, it's 15 years. So that means I've been doing CrossFit because I wasn't sober yet when I started CrossFit. So I'd always pick out the girl in the gym that was the fastest. And I do it with the guys too, like Aaron in our 6 a.m. class. He runs really, really fast. And obviously I'm never going to run as fast as him. Or Jamie. We've had Jamie Rhodes on the show. Like she's practically a professional runner. And I use that lightly. I use the word career or professional. Like I was never employed by CrossFit. I should probably say that. I mean, my time in there. But Jamie, I'll try to chase her and it helps me go faster. Am I ever going to catch her? No, probably not unless something happens. And I don't even want to think about that or put that out in the universe. But the only way that I would be able to catch her, she is an impeccable runner. And but if I before her, it was a girl named Susan at North End CrossFit. I always pick out those girls and use them as my pace car. Remember in NASCAR, they always have a pace car that comes out on the track and gets the cars all ready and lined up. That's what I do with people that are bigger, faster, stronger than me in the gym. Um, downward comparison can reduce stress. So, looking at how far you've come or remembering past versions of yourself can actually lower anxiety and increase gratitude. That's beautiful. Looking at how far you've come or remembering past versions of yourself can actually lower anxiety and increase gratitude. Good. I'm looking forward to talking to this gal next week. I'm really I'm really interested. I want to hear some positive things about that medicine. This is why reflecting on your own progress is powerful. So, it is good to, I take notes on my clients and charts, and I actually have an incredible memory for my job. Like, I can remember what I did with a client the week prior. Like, it's kind of crazy. And I knew another trainer that was able to do that, but I can't remember what I ate for dinner last night.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's weird. It's a gift for work. I don't really have it everywhere else. I can forget things all the time, but so I can always notice clients uh up or down, that, and which is great because that way I can tell if they're, are you feel not feeling well or something like that, or how what did you eat yesterday? Well, you're really strong, because our food intake makes a difference definitely in our performance physically. If you don't have a lot of gas in the tank, you're not going to be able to do as much. um Comparison peaks during transition. So I said that earlier. So people compare themselves the most when they're in a new environment or an identity shift. So I'm turning 60. I'm super excited. I'm sure you're sick of hearing about it. So I am probably comparing myself more because I've done this podcast. I'll really watch my behavior when I'm on social media. I am happy where I'm at. I'm proud of myself. I'm glad that I ate so well during my life. I'm glad that I exercised my whole life. Although I went to the dentist this past week and I got some cavities, and I know that I have been eating a lot more starchier foods. I've been eating a lot more potatoes, which are very, very good for you. But you have to remember that that starch will stay in your teeth and turn to sugar. So if you're going to be eating stuff like that, you've got to, and then obviously sugar and any other, nemesis to your teeth. But remember that, I was eating a lot of potatoes for the last 6, 7 months trying to get weight on both me and Ian, and I succeeded. I've got weight on. In fact, I have to hook up my MyFitnessPal and start tracking again because of kind of what's happening with my food, just to be responsible. But remember that not all healthy food won't turn to plaque. So, and I knew that I was slipping up on the ice creams and stuff like that because I'm like, well, I've been good my whole life, so now I'm going to start cheating, and that's good in a sense, but that can, I've got a new awakening. A new job will help you. That's a time to start comparing. That can help you or hurt you when you start a new job, comparing you to your other coworkers. New age bracket, which is what I'm going through. New body changes, which is what our guest next week will fill us in on how that feels. Hopefully, I will remember to put that in the podcast. Does she find herself comparing herself to others more or less or the same? Returning after an injury, I definitely compared myself in a positive manner after my knee injury. I got stronger after physical therapy. So my weights have all gone up, and that's really wonderful. Athletes tend to compare more to their past self. So research shows that aging athletes experience a unique form of comparison where they're doing it over time, and they're, trying to keep that. We know that with the athletes that come into the Olympics. Some of them are in there when they're 40. The skier Lindsey Vonn came in, she was 41 and so sadly got hurt. That was just such a bummer. But prior to her coming in, the fact that she even could come in at 41 already is, a pat on the back. Yay, Lindsay. We support you so much. But she was probably always comparing herself to her younger times. This can be motivating, and you can say to yourself, look how strong I still am, or discouraging. So careful. And we're getting near the end here. Comparison is strongest when confidence is lowest. So if you start doing that stuff, have a check, make sure you're using it in the positive, and, don't feed into negative confidence issues. Like I said, we do have some control. So when you start spiraling, because I've been really battling that kind of stuff lately. All this stuff that we're talking about, like procrastination, perfectionism, comparison, is obviously, this is my show. I'm picking the subjects on purpose because I struggle with a lot of this stuff. And I know I'm not the Lone Ranger, because when I talk to people, they're like, yeah, me too, a lot. Comparison isn't always bad. That's how we're going to end this discussion. It's data. So psychologists say comparison becomes harmful only when it turns into judgment. When used as information, it can help you set realistic goals, identify strengths, find role models, and stay connected to a community. And even though I said I was ending there, I do want to go snoop in and see what 26.3 is about. So the workout for CrossFit 26.3 is 2 rounds of burpees over the bar, 12 of them, 12 cleans, 12 burpees over the bar, 12 thrusters. Oh. And then
Just 2 rounds?
I don't get it. It keeps okay. So
that just might be a speed thing.
For 2 rounds. Oh, it looks like they just.
I mean, it's still 48
Oh, wait,
burpees, right?
no, it keeps going. It's a time cap of 16 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So then you weight number 2 rounds. So you up your weight.
Oh, yeah, you increase weight every time. There you go.
And then.
That sounds disgusting.
I don't know. I like finally they had a barbell though. I know it sounds, that's a hard one. I kind of like it though. I do like that workout, but I do it the way I do workouts, which is a really light weight. I wonder what the weight is. 16 minutes, 65, 75, 85. Where's masters? I mean, it's too heavy weight for me. I can't even do master's weight. So that's another reason. It's kind of like this ship has sailed for me, but I can do, unless they give you any weight you want. Now, obviously, I'm going to try this workout because I like it. The actual, even though it is like burpees, I love cleans, burpees, boo, but I'm good at them. And then thrusters. Surprisingly, I don't mind thrusters. I can't stand wall balls, and they're exactly the same. So every time I get wall balls, I always say to myself, come on, you can do them. I just like a barbell, period. Even if I have to thrust it, I just don't do it at horrible weights. You'd crack up if you saw my weights, Steve. So yeah, I'm going to try and do that this weekend. You want to time me? But that's when comparison is good. I don't even make it on the board actually, because I'd have to go up against the weight of other masters in my age group, and it doesn't list them. Maybe sometimes when you go into prepare, but I'm not going to hold you guys hostage that are listening online. Here's master scale. Okay, here's master scale. Masters 55 plus, 75, 95, and 115. Oh, that's men. I was like, what? Women is 55, 65, and 75 is the weight. And you may step over the barbell. Oh, I didn't realize it was burpees over the bar. Oh, you're right, Steve. That's a disgusting workout. Right? I'm going to try it. I don't mind jumping over the bar, but well, anyway, I won't keep you guys from your lovely weekend any longer, but do you have anything exciting going on this weekend, Steve?
I don't think so. Just pool season cranking up a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll deal with this weather as it goes up and down.
Get your rest in before it goes crazy.
Yeah, and then nothing crazy. Hopefully everything's a nice, relaxing weekend.
I'm almost finishing my taxes. I'm so happy because once that gets done, I will have like just more time to be online. And I've been kind of, not posting as much lately just because I just don't have as much time. But I'll get to be online. I do go online a little bit to look at dogs. I'm going to try and go online tonight and see what Marsha and Tammy are up to. I will say that because of the open. But I'm going to try and push send on my taxes. And other than that, I'm going to do a lot of resting if at all possible. But I hope everybody enjoys their weekend, and I'll see you next week. And we'll have a guest in next week.
Yeah, sounds fun.
We'll try not to compare, but we're going to hear how her journey is.
All right.
So have a great weekend, Steve.
Thank you, Sizzle.
Trying to look at the results, and I don't understand how it's scored out. Ooh, I'm kind of looking forward to doing that. I'll let you know how it goes.